What's going on, my friends, my family, my fellow gamers? It's your boy, PortRock77, your only friend in these YouTube streets, and I want to talk to you quickly about two topics, all right? First topic, we'll talk about Naughty Dog not revealing any information on The Last of Us 2 at the Game Awards. They won't show a trailer, they won't talk about it, but they said that they're looking forward to really releasing more info. Obviously, this caused a little bit of negative feedback from the gamers who are looking forward to this game. And of course, a lot of us gamers are looking forward to this game. The Last of Us was a phenomenal game, probably one of the best games ever released during the PS3 360 generation. And it created a franchise, and people are just dying to play the sequel. Because of, multiple things such as no PSX 2018, Sony announcing they will be at E3 2019, and now no information at the Game Awards, a lot of people are moving towards that this might be a 2020 game. I still believe it could potentially be a 2019 game for the following reasons. One, Sony lately, over the last year or so, have been releasing release dates within the year of the game release dates. So just because nothing's being shown at the Game Awards show or nothing's being talked about in 2018 has no real bearing on 2019 when Sony has done release dates. For example, God of War, the announcement for God of War's release date of April whatever was done in January. Detroit was done like 2-3 months prior, and I think April 2018 was the release date for Spider-Man, September release date, right? So there's chances that these 2019 release dates can be announced in 2019, all right? Another reason why I think, especially when we talk about the other games, that these are 2019 games is because it doesn't make financial sense on Sony's behalf to just hold on. If the game does come out in 2020, it's because it wasn't ready. I think that's the real reason, And then that's a legit reason. If the game's not ready to be released in 2019, then there's no reason to release it and release an unfinished product, especially now that we've seen a lot of games that came out unfinished is getting huge backlash. So if it doesn't come out in 2020, it's probably because it's not finished. A lot of people are using the narrative, Sony's going to use this as a launch title for the PlayStation 5. That doesn't make financial sense. PlayStation 5 is going to sell on its own, regardless, all right? It's going to sell on its own. Second, The Last of Us will most likely be just a backwards compatible title where PS5 plays PlayStation 4 games. It's not like the game was announced and built from the ground up on PlayStation 5 and be exclusive to PlayStation 5. So holding it to the release of PlayStation 5 when it's a PlayStation 4 game doesn't make financial sense. Also, there's certain metrics that Sony has to release, in terms of makes a certain amount of money from software sales, from hardware sales, from PSN stores and all that stuff. So these big games that they have in store, they want to take advantage of the huge fan base that PlayStation 4 established. So it doesn't really make sense to hold off games which are going to have huge potential. PlayStation, The Last of Us is going to sell regardless on the PlayStation 5 for many people, especially if Sony can do things similar to what Xbox One X and Microsoft has done, which enhance games and, provide enhancement features. So I don't see financially why they would hold the game for PlayStation 5. Doesn't really make sense, especially if PlayStation 5 doesn't release in 2019. Sony knows the importance of releasing big games and big exclusives. That's what's been selling the PlayStation. I mean, of course, multi-plat is a big part of, any console's success, but the narrative is exclusives and great compelling titles, and Sony's really making a name for themselves now more than ever as a company who publishes amazing titles. To not release The Last of Us, Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, things that are associated with Sony Computer Entertainment or Sony Computer Studios, that would probably hurt Sony more than what they would gain holding on to these games for the PlayStation 5. They need to keep the momentum. I think releasing these games in 2019 will continue the big momentum of people saying, man, Sony just keeps releasing hits after hits after hits. That will fare better for PlayStation 5 because, again, the console sold itself just off the name of Sony's first-party titles. If Sony don't release these games in 2019, the narrative of Sony not having games, sparse, dry year can be created, and that negative impact could lead into the PlayStation 5. Sony will probably be better off releasing the games during 2019, which will maintain the momentum of, damn, Sony just continues to knock it out the park, releasing game after game, hit after hit. The Last of Us potentially could be a Game of the Year nominee. All these things are positive tracks and movements that will lead to people be like, you know what? After a knockout 2017 year, after a knockout 2018 year, and goddamn, 2019 being blown out the park, I'm getting a PlayStation 5. because this is the console that gets games. That seems a better strategy than to hold on to PlayStation 4 games, not release them in 2019, and then people wondering what the hell is going on, which can lead negatively into the next gen. Doesn't really make sense, all right? The next topic is Microsoft. Rumors has it that Microsoft is purchasing more studios, and potentially it could be a studio that's closely related to PlayStation. Now, it's not an actual PlayStation first-party studio because that's owned by Sony, and Sony's not going to sell the developers to them. So this is most likely like a second-party studio that worked closely or has been working closely with Sony. And it could be a lot. You know, I think the most common trend right now, or the most common, I ain't going to say accepted, just everybody's looking at Quantic Dream. You know, because that's a studio that worked closely with Sony for a long time. So far, they made nothing but exclusives for Sony. And I don't think the games are even on PC. So everything they made for a long time, going back to Heavy Rain, has all been PlayStation exclusives, or at least been on the PlayStation platform. You know, Heavy Rain started off, Beyond Two Souls, and now Detroit. So it's just game after game after game exclusively and dealing with Sony. So that's most likely the candidate that people are making assumptions with, you know, and it's just a rumor at this point. If Microsoft did acquire Quantic Dream, what that tells me is that Phil Spencer now is putting his, how can I put it? Phil Spencer is doubled down. He put double down on single player experiences because Quantic Dream is not going to make a multiplayer game. So if you remember Phil back in early 2017, whatever, he was saying single player games is a hard investment, you know, because the financial yada, 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 yada. You know, everybody knows what he said and stuff like that. You know, he's talking about how the industry is moving forward, whatever. Then all of a sudden, Horizon Zero Dawn came out. Breath of the Wild came out. Super Mario came out. God of War came out. Spider-Man came out. Detroit came out. Red Dead came out. It's just consistent single player experiences that are just some of the best games that came out for a while. And I think Phil realizes, holy cow, you're going to have to manage and juggle multiplayer experience and single player experience. And then you have the other titles like Neo Automata, Neo. It's just Yakuza. It's just a lot of titles that are single player experiences that are very successful ever since he made those comments. And I think if he buys Quantic Dream, it's because he sees something now. And now he realizes, you know what? Single player experiences are important. It's important to the product and it's important to gaming. And he's going to support it, which is a good thing. Now, do I think it's actually Quantum Dreams? I don't know. Only because at the end of the day, every company has to worry about their own self-interest. Quantic Dream has no allegiance to Sony. All right. If Sony never cut a check, if Sony never offered Quantic Dream to be like, hey, we want to make you an official first-party studio. This is the plan. This is the deal. This is money. Da da da. Bada bing. Bada bang. Bada boom. If Sony never presented that, and Microsoft approached Quantic Dream and be like, hey, we want you to be a first-party, you know, developer under our umbrella. Here's the economic package we can offer. QD is going to make the decision that's for their best self-interest, you know? So if Sony doesn't want to lose QD to Microsoft, they're going to have to step up and make an offer, all right? Or some of these second-party deals that they have with these companies, at a certain point, Sony's going to have to worry about losing these guys and be like, you know what? Microsoft's buying up studios. We at a minimum, you know, Sony at a minimum, I said we as if I was in Sony shoes, but Sony at a minimum needs to protect their own assets and their own investments and secure the companies that help them be successful. Does that make sense? You know, because obviously they got the first party, but there's a lot of third-party developers that can be considered second party that help the PlayStation platform. You know, there are developers out there that are like, you know, the system. One of them would be Quantic Dream. Sony should be looking at like, hold on, QD's been doing great for us. We might want to approach them and see if they're interested in it. At least approach them, see if they're interested. If they go, nah, we're not interested in being bought by anybody. We don't care what the package is. We like being independent, doing our thing. Sony's like, cool, all right. You know, they would be like, all right, cool. And they'll be straight up. We're just concerned that Microsoft might buy you guys out, and now you don't longer make no products. And if they be like, you know what? Yeah, we're not interested in being bought by anybody. But if Quantic Dream be like, you know what? We would be interested in being bought by somebody because, you know, being an independent developer has its, you know, drawbacks, whatever. Sony should initiate that conversation, you know. If Sony doesn't say anything with Quantic Dream and Microsoft sits at the table, have coffee, has some lattes, Seattle's best, whatever, Redmond, and QD signs the deal, that's on Sony. Sony slept on it, you know? I think at a minimum, Sony should look at the relationships that real close with people and wonder, is there potential for Microsoft? They don't have to buy out all these random weird third-party developers. I think Microsoft is in a bigger issue where they have to pretty much buy everybody. Like, for example, the developers of We Happy Few, ugh, you know what I'm saying? Look at the game they made. So I really don't care about that developer. I don't know. Maybe they could make something big, but whatever, you know? But if I was Sony, I would look at the close relationships of people that brought games that made the platform look great. Quantum Dream would be one. I would actually look at Sega, believe it or not. Because with the Yakuza series, I would be like, you know what? We may want to look at these guys, you know? Tecmo, you know, Koei Tecmo. You know, Neo has been a great game, you know, that added stuff to them, you know? And that's a small studio. Atlas is another small studio. Persona has always been tied. So Persona has primarily been tied to the PlayStation platform, you know? Yeah, they make games for Nintendo and stuff like that. But if there's one platform that really people know Persona for, and those games, and what's the other one? I forgot the other one. But Atlas and their games, you know, Sony might look into Atlas, be like, hey, are you guys willing to be part of our first-party studio? If they come out and say, no, we're not interested, all right, cool, you know? But they need to look at these studios first before Microsoft gets a hold of them. Because, again, they don't owe allegiance to anybody but themselves to protect their own self-interest. And if Microsoft comes up with a nice package, they will sell for that package and protect their own company. Make sense? So Sony needs to step on stuff like that. Now, Microsoft's making a lot of news, making a lot of noise with these industry purchases and developer purchases. The question is, a lot of people getting nervous on why is Sony so quiet? What is Sony doing? What is Sony doing? What is Sony doing? My perspective is Microsoft has to make a lot of noise because, number one, they don't have anything left for the Xbox One X. This gen is over for them, right? All these new purchase studios are for products and future projects that will be built for the future of Microsoft gaming, all right? So you're talking about projects that you're going to play on the next Xbox Scarlet, that you're going to play on xCloud, that you're going to play on PC. That's what these games are for, all right? But Microsoft wants to let you to know that, hey, we bought the studios, we're working on, we're dedicated to exclusive parties, first-party support, we're growing our first party, we are dedicated, and they're going to keep talking about it over the next couple of years because they have nothing else to talk about. They don't have a lot of games in the pipeline for now in the next year or so, you know? We got Gears and you got Forza, and they're finishing off, you got Crackdown. That's pretty much what you're going to get. Soon they're going to get an announcement in E3 2019, but I doubt you're going to get a new AAA IP that's going to be released within that year. You might get new AAA announcements, right? Maybe. It depends. Because now you have to balance. If you announce a new AAA at E3 2019, then it is for the Xbox One. But the question is, are these games Xbox One only games, or are they trying to build a portfolio for the start of the next generation with the next Xbox, Project Xbox Scarlet? So that's where the balance is at. And me, that's where I think Sony is stuck at. Any new projects is a PlayStation 5 project. So when do you announce these projects? Well, clearly you have to announce the console first. Then you announce the PlayStation games, all right? But from now till then, what do we have? We have tons of big AAA projects. Ghost of Tsushima, Days Gone, The Last of Us, Death Stranding are just the big four on that. 3 of them new AAA franchises. And then you have projects, again, from the second-party, third-party relationships that's only coming to PlayStation or PlayStation PC, depending on the type of deal Sony have. You have Neo 2. You have Judge Eyes from Sega. Project Awakening. Lost Soul Aside. This, and then, of course, people get mad at me because I keep forgetting this game is Concrete Jungle and Dreams. I'm not really interested in those games. That's why I rarely mention them. But a lot of people are mentioning those games. And then there's other small indie titles like Hong Kong Massacre, which I'm still waiting for, and we'll see more about it. So as you can see, there is a lot of exclusives, a lot of titles, a lot of things Sony will be projecting. So from now up until the PS5, we have lots of games. There's lots of content. Gamers will be gaming on the PlayStation. You know, Sony's not in a crunch to just start pushing, oh, we did this, we did this, we did this, because they don't need to. What they're going to be focusing on is the games that are in the pipeline, the games that have been announced, start pushing more information throughout 2019 on these games. And I'm pretty sure they're going to do things like the way they did it with God of War and Spider-Man Detroit, where they'll do media campaigns, media blitz, podcasts, you know, things like that. They're going to be talking about what they have for PlayStation 4 for the console you own right now. They're not in a position where they have to be like, oh, look, we bought a studio, so you don't have to worry about first party. I think it's set that Sony has a great first-party output. And with PlayStation 4, the generation is not done yet. It's not over. In fact, we could potentially say it's even going to be better. I mean, the combination of Days Gone, Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, and The Last of Us 2, you know, that's potential high-caliber games across the board, you know. And then with Sega creating a new franchise, Judge Eyes, that could be huge. Project Awakening could be huge, you know. Yang Bing's new project, Lost Soul Side, could be huge. You know, it's an indie project, a smaller project, but man, the game looks incredible. It looks like Final Fantasy, 15 level quality, you know? So there's a lot of games for the PlayStation 4 that is still for current gen that we could get a taste, you know? So that's my perspective. You let me know. Tell me what you think about it. Hit me up in the comment section. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, and everybody hit the like button. This is your boy, Puerto Rock 77, and I'm out. Peace.